Before I begin, I figured I'd put a little disclaimer here. Mental illness is a serious subject, and in no way are video games a substitute for medication, therapy, or social interaction. If you need help, get help, friends. My daily obsession of Animal Crossing New Horizons has made me reflect on my time playing the series since the franchise's US release on September 15, 2002. I was 10 years old when Animal Crossing came out. I'm not sure what made me pick up that now familiar case of Animal Crossing for the Nintendo GameCube, other than the GameCube being my go-to console and the only console that I would have the luxury of residing in my room until the release of the next generation of consoles 4 years later. Maybe it was the inviting and friendly cover. Maybe it was the promise of daily, fun life, not unlike The Sims, a game that I got to dabble in prior. Maybe it was the price, or the promise of a special edition memory card. Whatever the reason, I picked Animal Crossing up off the shelf of my local Game Crazy and took it home with me. What followed was the beginning of my love and borderline obsession with the Animal Crossing series. Let's back up a bit though, before we get to Animal Crossing. I was 10 when I got Animal Crossing, and I had lived what was, so far, a fairly atypical home life. My parents had broken up shortly after having me, so living with one parent or the other, and having to travel between them, was commonplace. I have no memories of my parents ever being together, and the guilt associated with feeling like the problem or the reason why they were no longer together would permeate for years to come. Like most children with split parents, I lived with my mother for the first decade of my life, and my mother's home and work life was unpredictable at best. Bouncing between various boyfriends and houses, unfamiliar men, and a physically abusive stepfather for several years means that we never lived in the same place for long. I went to a different school for nearly every grade up until the 4th grade, 10 years old. At this time, my father was getting serious with a woman and planned to marry her and lease a home together, while my mother, being quite aware of her situation, now nearly homeless and pregnant with my little brother, deemed it best for me to grow up in a family household, something she simply could not provide at the time. Little did anyone know, my stepmother would abuse me in ways other than physical, but I digress. Seeing as I moved around a lot, I never had many friends. I was shy by nature, and the constant moving, usually during summers, meant that not only would I lose friends every year, but I would never be able to say my goodbyes either. During these years, I kept mostly to myself, read books, and played games. A solitary life, though not necessarily a bad one. In fact, I started to advise other kids not to be my friend, as it was very likely I'd never see them again. A friendly warning that often turned out to be true. I closed myself off from the world. If I wasn't introverted before, I certainly was now. Again, that's not necessarily bad, but I just can't help but wonder if my life would have been different had my upbringing been different as well. When I moved in with my father, he promised me just one more move. Halfway through the year in 4th grade, 10 years old. A promise he would keep. If you've never moved mid-school year growing up, it's an awful experience. You lose your friends from your old school, have no history with any of your new classmates, and are forced into a group of people who have already begun to develop deeper friendships and cliques. In short, you're on the outside looking in. While I did get integrated into a great group of kids this year, some of which would remain my friends all throughout my primary schooling, that's not why we're here. Enter Animal Crossing. In Animal Crossing, you move into a town populated with anthropomorphic animals with nothing on your person but the clothes on your back and a pittance of cash. The local landlord and shopkeep offers you a home and a job to help pay off said home, before eventually laying you off and allowing you to pay back your home loan at your pace. No deadlines, no accruing interest, and all in real time. 10-year-old me adored the thought of a stable home life, and moving into my first Animal Crossing town would promise not only that, but much more. Even if each animal is a cookie-cutter personality, the residents felt like real individuals, and would fill the void for friends and social interaction that 10-year-old Cyberphile desperately needed. Being a latchkey kid with few friends outside of school, the animals became my closest friends, confidants, and hell, sometimes even childhood crushes. They were almost always there for me, no matter when I powered up my GameCube. I created real, long-lasting friendships with these animals, and even though they sometimes moved out, and without warning, the letters they left reminded me that it was okay to pick up and move out, and that sometimes moving is a new beginning, not a permanent farewell. You'll carry with you the memories of your old home and friends, and find ways to grow as you move on with your life. This was a lesson that I direly needed after having moved so much and feeling like everything up to that point in my life was all for nothing. As I got older, I would come to realize even more of the psychological benefits of Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing would become a mainstay in my life as I got older, playing a veritable ton of Wild World and New Leaf. When depression hit hard as I got older, Animal Crossing would provide not only moral support, but structure. I know depression affects people differently, but when I get depressed, my motivation plummets. All I want to do is sleep and lay around. Oftentimes, video games stop being fun, and I can't find anything I really want to play or do. Here's where Animal Crossing comes in. Animal Crossing provides structure and routine. As the series gained more mechanics, there became more and more of a reason to come back and play every day. If you don't water your flowers in the older games, they would die, so gotta make sure you do that. While I'm on, I may as well check the shops for any rotating inventory. Oh look, fossils to dig up, or a big fish to catch. Oh, looks like someone has an errand for me to run. Before you know it, you've spent an hour traipsing around your town. This becomes a real-life routine, too. Every morning or evening, you find yourself returning to your town to check on those same things. It may just be a video game, but it is some kind of structure, which someone with no motivation desperately needs. And speaking of structure, Animal Crossing's calendar coincides with the real-world calendar, so Animal Crossing gives the player something to look forward to. A special item or event on a certain day not only gives the player something to be excited about, but also forces the player to sync up their personal clock with the game's, which also happens to be real lives. If you're unemployed or not seeking education or something of the like, days, weeks, months can meld together. But if you have to keep track of those things, even in a minor way, it can help you to get your life back in order and at least not fall into the void of forgetting time itself. Not only does it provide structure, but it also gives you a sense of accomplishment. Your museum will fill up. Your house expands with each successful payment. Animal Crossing helps you in creating short-term and long-term goals. Your long-term goal might be to pay off your entire house or complete your museum. So you realize your short-term goals become paying off each smaller loan or putting away a certain amount of money each week, finding all the bugs or fish for a given month or time period. Animal Crossing gently teaches you how to set goals and oftentimes rewards instant gratification for achieving them, providing a positive feedback loop for the player. While it's certainly not real social interaction, Animal Crossing attempts to simulate it, and there are many examples of people becoming attached to specific villagers because of it. Your animal friends check in on you by sending letters and are generally pretty happy to see you or miffed if you've been away for a while. Another gentle life lesson, Animal Crossing teaches you how to keep up with the people you care about. In conclusion, I just want to thank Animal Crossing for being what it is. Thanks to the gentle life skills and lessons, Animal Crossing has and will likely continue to help me cope with the failings of my own mind. So thanks, Animal Crossing. Animal Crossing is a lot of things to a lot of different people, so if you have your own Animal Crossing story that you want to share, I encourage you to do so in the comments. Take care, and as always, be good to yourself, friends. Hey, thanks for watching! Don't forget to subscribe for more Cyberphile content, and if you liked this video, show me with that little thumbs up button. If you liked this video, you might like one of my other videos. You can click right on the boxes to jump to them. Cyberphile, offline.